This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, and of course on Sirius XM, ESPN Radio, channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Jam-packed show coming your way today. Gonna get into a little NBA talk later with LeBron and the Cavs getting blown out in Cleveland, how bad things truly are in Cleveland, Ohio, and whether or not they're going to even make it out of the East. The Golden State Warriors, do they have real, legitimate competition out West? There's a story that's circulating now from Adrian Wojnarowski for ESPN and others, talking about problems with Kawhi Leonard and San Antonio Spurs management. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show as well, but we all know where we have to start off this show. We all know where we have to end this show. We all know what we should be thinking about on a day like today. Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis will take place, and it will be a rematch of Super Bowl 39, where the Philadelphia Eagles went up against the New England Patriots. Back then, Donovan McNabb was your quarterback. T.O. was your wide receiver in Philadelphia. But Brady and Belichick and Robert Kraft, the owner, was still in place for the New England Patriots. Go from 2004 to 2018, and the same three-headed monster still exists in New England. But you got a different coach in Doug Peterson instead of Andy Reid. You got a different quarterback, and it ain't even Carson Wentz. It's Nick Foles. And you've got, obviously, some requisite weapons that ain't Terrell Owens. But the question is, would they need to be? This is what the situation comes down to as far as I'm concerned. I saw a thriller in Foxborough, Massachusetts yesterday afternoon. Tom Brady is just sensational. There's just no other way around it, ladies and gentlemen. When there's a way, if there's a way to get something done and to come out on top, he'll find it. It's just that simple. Down 20-10. One touchdown to Danny Amendola. Another touchdown to Danny Amendola. This is in the aftermath of Rob Gronkowski going down with that concussion off of that hit from Barry Church, a former Cowboy with Jacksonville. And what you had was a situation where the New England Patriots went up 24-20, and then you were looking for Blake Bortles, 23 of 36 for 293 yards on the season, although sacked 3 times, still threw a touchdown. Okay, did not throw any interceptions. Blake Bortles did not play bad. He did not play bad. The issue is that when it was really time to step up and get something done, a sack by Harrison derailed him. The absence of a running game derailed him. The fact that he didn't use his wheels, his motors, to make plays with his feet derailed him. And, of course, his throw neutralized and nullified through the outstretched arms of Patriots cornerback Stephon Gilmore ultimately ended it. You could say that ended it. That's just technically, but literally speaking, the Patriots still could have given up the ball. Jacksonville had to make sure to deny them a first down. And on plays 1 and 2, first down, second down, they couldn't do anything. On third and like 7 or 8, you're expecting them to throw the ball to get that first down. Josh McDaniels has Tom Brady hand it off to Damian Lewis, and what happens? He scampers for 18 yards, gets a first down, even has Bill Belichick in jubilation, clapping his hands and throwing his arms in the air triumphantly. And as a result, the New England Patriots walk away with another AFC championship, 24-20. Now, there's several things to pull out from this. And one that stands above the crowd is obviously the fact that while the Jacksonville Jaguars were penalized 6 times for 98 yards, the New England Patriots were called for 1 penalty all afternoon long for 10 yards. Now, I do recall a play when Patrick Chung, with about 6:30 left, was holding Mercedes Lewis. This is after New England scores. And Jacksonville has the ball, and they can drive, and they can find themselves getting the first down, chewing more time off of the clock and neutralizing New England more, but Patrick Chung didn't get called for the holding penalty against Mercedes Lewis, but I don't want to hear that. It happens. Obviously, in the first half, when A.J. Bouye, Your cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars gets called for a pass interference with Tom Brady trying to connect to Brandon Cooks. Some people thought it was a bogus pass interference call. Others, like my colleague at 98.7 FM in New York, Mr. Greg Canty, former New York Giant, knows his football. He pointed out, hey, Bouye was using his body and forced the smaller Cooks out of bounds. And that might have had something to do with that pass interference call because he didn't look back until the end. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, hey, you're looking at it and you're saying, you know what, it might have been pass interference. Because that helped the New England Patriots ultimately put 10 points on the board before the half. You can look at it that way. You can't summarily dismiss that notion. I'm thinking about Lambeau hitting field goals. I'm thinking about a holding penalty that was called against Jacksonville. Or was it a delay of game? I'm trying to remember when they had an opportunity to go up 17-3 at the time and they missed that opportunity. But no matter where you look at it, several instances where Jacksonville just didn't close the deal, didn't get it done. Me personally, I thought they got a bit too conservative in the second half. I thought Doug Marrone got conservative. I thought he imitated the Atlanta Falcons a little bit. When they were up 28-3 on the Patriots, you got to keep scoring. Tom Brady is on the other side of the field. You beat New England by keeping on scoring. You don't beat them by being satisfied with the points that you get and saying, okay, we're safe. Our defense, we can just rely on them to stop Tom Brady. That's not how you beat the New England Patriots. It is not how you beat Tom Brady because that's not going to work. You beat him by making sure that you continue to play your game and put points on the board. That's not what they did. And in my opinion, that has a lot to do with why they lost this game. All you could muster was a field goal in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. That's all you could do after putting up 14 points in the second quarter if you're Jacksonville. You've got the momentum. You're up 14-3. And then all of a sudden, Brady sits up there and hands the ball off to James White for a 1-yard touchdown run. And there you have it. But even then, Lambeau kicks a 54-yard field goal in the third quarter. He kicks another 43-yarder in the fourth. You're up 20-10. What's the problem? Especially with Gronk out. And you haven't had Julian Edelman all year long. You know that with a Ramsey, with a Bouye, you've got corners on the outside, others in your secondary to help you out. You're not beating Jacksonville with that speed, that athleticism, and the hitmen they have on the defensive side of the ball. You're not beating Jacksonville when all you have to go on is the outside of the field. You're not doing it. So if you know that they can't go outside on you because New England doesn't have the horses to pull that off, then why did Danny Amendola suddenly look like the combination of Gronkowski and Jason Witten and, listen, Shannon Sharp and the list goes, the great tight ends. Not that Amendola was playing tight end, but I'm just saying it looked like that the way he was patrolling the middle of the field. Why didn't you stop him? Because Brady, that's why. He's just so great, y'all. There's just no way to deny it. The man is phenomenal. I mean, when you I think about that movie Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin. And he sat up there and he's talking about always be closing. Tom Brady closes. It's what he does. It's the reason the New England Patriots are in yet another Super Bowl. The 8th with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. 8. By the way, Nick Foles didn't have to close at all. Minnesota sorted that. We'll talk about that up next, plus so much more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's point to a couple of things here before I forget. Number one, the Patriots scored, pulled it within 14-10, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're up 14-10, but they get the ball back with about 55 seconds left. That was the first time all season long any team in the NFL took a knee with that much time left in a half. First time all year long. All year long. 55 seconds left. They took a knee going into halftime. That's number one. And number two, what about that third and 18? Third and 18. And Tom Brady connected with Amendola for a 20-yarder with about, what was it? About over 10 minutes left or so. I mean, I don't have the exact play-by-play in front of me, but those are the kind of things that I'm looking at. Those are the kind of things I'm paying attention to. Because these are the kind of things that contributed to the demise of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But who better to highlight it? I couldn't wait to hear from my buddy. Because, listen, bottom line is this. I have been saved. I was on the record coming in saying, I don't want to see a Super Bowl with Blake Bortles versus Case Keenum with Nick Foles. I absolutely, positively do not deserve that. Now we got a Super Bowl that I don't mind seeing because Tom Brady's going to be in it. Not that I would want him normally there. I'm a New Yorker. I ain't root for anybody in Boston, but greatness is greatness. I would have preferred to see Drew Brees, even if it was against Tom Brady, or a rematch of Atlanta versus New England, but that wasn't to be. But I damn sure didn't want to see Case Keenum, Nick Foles, and Nick Foles against Blake Bortles. I did not want to see that. That'd have been the lowest rated Super Bowl in history. So I prayed before yesterday's game that New England won. I prayed that New England got it done, that Tom Brady would be in the Super Bowl. And it happened. So I'm happy about that. I imagine there are plenty of people that are not happy about it at all. And none more so, in terms of unhappiness we're talking about here, none more so than my first caller, formerly Carlton from Massachusetts, now Carlton, who is retired in Tampa. Obviously, the sun has not shined upon him. Carlton, the floor is yours, buddy. How you doing?
Stephen A., you are a smart man, but you have become a Patriots apologist. You are on Robert Kraft's Christmas card list. I know it. I'm going to prove it. But let me give you the absurdities just in the fourth quarter that happened in yesterday's game, okay?
Go ahead.
Miles Jack, at 13:37 of the fourth quarter, was ruled incorrectly down by the refs after the fumble recovery when he wasn't touched at all by Dion Lewis. That would have made the game 27-10 Jaguars because he was unobstructed for the touchdown after that. There was a blatant pass interference call on Patrick Chung at the what mark here? It's at the I want to say I don't have the mark, but anyway, Mercedes Lewis. Oh yes, I do. At the 13 mark of the fourth quarter, killing a Jags fourth quarter drive. There was a blatant uncalled Cameron Fleming hold on Marcel Darius on the third down and 18 completion by Brady, which extended a Patriots drive. That was at the 10:41 mark of Q4. And then at 6:21 of the fourth quarter, there was a second blatant pass interference call on Chung on Mercedes Lewis. Another uncalled.
That one was blatant. There's no question that Chung.
Blatant,
I don't know about both of them, but one of them was. That Chung on Mercedes Lewis, that definitely was blatant. I'll give you that.
Two of them were, and they killed Jags' fourth quarter drive, Stephen A. They basically took possessions away from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the refs just handed this victory to the New England Patriots on a silver platter. We're not even talking about the bogus Bouye pass interference call at the end of the second quarter, which you, Max, and Ryan Clark all said was garbage on your first take program. We're not even talking about the blatant face masking penalty on Malcolm Butler at the 5:10 mark of Q1 when he hauled down Marquise Lee by his face mask after an incompleted pass. I mean, this is just absurd. One penalty on the Patriots for 10 yards. 6 penalties on the Jaguars for 98 yards. I told you on Friday that was exactly what was going to happen. 3 penalties on the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary, none on the Patriots secondary. It is a joke, Stephen A. It is such a joke. We got articles all over Pro Football Talk talking about it. We got commentators talking about it. The NFL is becoming an absurd joke. And if they don't clean this up, people are going to stop watching.
They're not going to stop watching. Come on now. I mean,
I think fix is in, my friend. Go and look at how many comments about the fix being in from from everywhere in the country, not from just Patriots haters like Carlton and Tampa, from everybody. This is nonsense, Stephen A., and everybody is getting to see it.
I got you. I understand you're a bit frustrated, Carlton. I can't blame you because there was one penalty for 10 yards for the entire game for the New England Patriots. That does leave you scratching your head saying, damn, I mean, they really got away with it.
Stephen A., in the last 5 games when the Patriots were on death's door, after they lost to the Dolphins and they were at risk of losing home field advantage, the Patriots have been called for 110 yards in penalties. Their opponents have been called for 390 yards in penalties, had 2 touchdowns reversed, had a 4th down stop reversed, had a Patriots 4th down punt reversed. It's a joke, Stephen A. It's a joke.
Well, thank you for the call, Carlton. I appreciate it. Listen. Let me tell y'all something right now. Here's my attitude. Bill Belichick's doing something right. Now, I watched the game and I saw 99% of what Carlton just highlighted is absolutely true. That was a face mask that should have been called on Malcolm Butler. No doubt about it. All of it's true. All of it's true. I totally get it. I understand it. But for some reason, Bill Belichick knows things that a lot of his contemporaries just don't know. Listen, how is it that y'all can't figure this out? How is it that you can't figure this out? Certainly there are penalties. The Patriots clearly should have been called for more than 1 penalty for 10 yards during the game. But maybe, just maybe, it's going back to what I told y'all. I told y'all if Tom Brady wasn't in this, I came into the show Friday and Thursday and I said, Tom Brady is holding the future of the NFL, the immediate future of the NFL in the palm of his hands. Because after the season that they've had, due to the Colin Kaepernick protests and everything else, I said to y'all, you need a good Super Bowl, man. You can't have Carson Wentz down due to injury. Matt Ryan gets bounced out by Philly. Drew Brees, a miracle, takes him out against New Orleans. Big Ben Roethlisberger and them can't get it done because their defense didn't show up for them against Jacksonville. In one weekend, 3 of those top quarterbacks were gone. Carson Wentz went down weeks earlier. All you had was Tom Brady. You know what? A Super Bowl with Blake Bortles against Case Keenum or Nick Foles, that would have been a disaster. So I ain't going to lie to you. I expected the New England Patriots to get a little bit of favoritism. I really, really did. I didn't expect it to be so flagrant, though. I really didn't expect that. But I'm not going to lie to you. On this particular day, I don't care. I really don't. I mean, I'm all about fairness and all of that stuff. Please don't get me wrong. But I just don't care right now because I could not take seeing Blake Bortles versus Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. I just didn't want to see that. I needed something better than that. And it happened. I actually feel sorry for Blake Bortles, by the way. I'll explain why in just a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
You're going to have folks like Carlton complaining about this until the cows come home because New England is perceived as having an unfair advantage. You just have the greatest coach in the game, arguably the greatest coach ever, that just knows the rules backwards and forwards, knows football, knows the options that comes along with it, and just finds a way to get it done. Jacksonville got conservative in the second half. At some point in time, you knew Bill Belichick was going to force Blake Bortles to beat him. And Blake Bortles, who did not play bad, I might add, couldn't get it done. Question is, if you're Jacksonville, do you move ahead with Blake Bortles or do you go with somebody new? In my opinion, I say you go ahead with Blake Bortles. You move forward with Blake Bortles. That's what I believe. You know, he wasn't bad. Team was successful this year. I think there's a few things you got to entertain about keeping them on board and keeping continuity intact. Unless there's somebody surefire out there that you can grab, I don't see what you do. That's just me. 888-729-3776. 888-SAY-ESPN. I don't have much to say. I am in Philadelphia as we speak. I was at last night's NFC Championship game on the football field, hanging out in the suite before I ended up going out onto the field, courtesy of some folks for the Philadelphia Eagles who took great, great care of me. Thank you so much. Here's the deal. I expected the Eagles to win this game. I did not expect an annihilation. I did not expect the Minnesota Vikings to get taken to the woodshed the way that they did. I didn't see that coming. And I know people want to point to Nick Foles, who was absolutely sensational. And they want to point to the over 350 yards he threw for, 26 to 33 and, 3 touchdowns. I know an Alshon Jeffrey caught a 53-yard touchdown pass. I know Torrey Smith caught a 41 or 42-yard touchdown pass. Zach Ertz was connected with on a 36-yard pass, scampering down the left sidelines. I get all of that. I understand it. I truly do. But I got to tell y'all, that's not the Minnesota defense that I've been watching all year long. And I understand a play here or there because you can't be perfect all the time. I didn't expect them to get obliterated the way that they did. They're going to be the first team in NFL history that played a Super Bowl on their home field. They were that close and blew it. And I don't see these boys sticking out their chest then after that miracle they pulled off against New Orleans. They shouldn't have won last week. They really shouldn't have led lucky selves. Miracle in Minneapolis. That's what I call it. That's utterly ridiculous. But here's what it comes down to. Their defense didn't show up. Case Keenum was no game changer. I knew that Case Keenum would wilt beneath the pressure of that hostility in Lincoln Financial Field. These fans of Philly are no joke. And I'm coming. I knew they would be here, ready to represent. I had no doubt. But having said all of that, I didn't expect it to be because Minnesota's defense wet the bed. I thought the Eagles would find a way to pull out a close game late, probably win somewhere along the lines of 20-16 or something like that. I did not expect Minnesota's defense to get obliterated. Harrison Smith and Terrence Newman and Xavier Rhodes and all of these boys, Lindell Joseph. These people were nowhere to be found when it counted. I never expected that. I didn't see that coming. They got ran out of the state last night. Minnesota got beat up so bad, they wouldn't even be allowed to drive to Pittsburgh. That's how bad it was. I didn't expect that. And I give Philadelphia props for it. But more importantly, it makes me look at Mike Zimmer, who hadn't won a postseason game in his career, really, dating back to the 90s, who lucked up with a miracle in Minneapolis and won against New Orleans the week before. This team was not ready to play last night. Defense is his signature, and they couldn't do anything. It was really bad. So I look at it from that perspective, and I say, hey, props to Philadelphia Eagles. But Minnesota was a disappointment. 888-729-3776 is 888-SAY-ESPN. More Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Ah, just a touch of love. A little bit, just a little bit, with just a touch of love. What's up, y'all? 43 minutes past hour. Number one back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Hour number two, we'll get to Ryan Clark, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. He's on NFL Live as we speak right here on ESPN right now. He'll be on with yours truly at the top of the 2 o'clock hour. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. And don't forget, I got some stuff to get into in regards to the Cavs, the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, Kawhi Leonard, and the San Antonio Spurs. The list goes on and on, but we're talking about AFC, NFC championship games that took place yesterday in the National Football League. So let's get to the phones. Let's go to Claudia in California. You're live with Stephen A. Claudia, hello. How are you?
Hi, Stephen A. Well, I lost the bet that I made with you because the Jaguars and the Eagles won't be playing in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But don't disregard that. What happened in the fourth quarter? Miles Jack, like I told you, he went out. And that's the reason why the Patriots won. Because I guarantee you, if he would have still been playing, it would have been the Jaguars, and so it would have been the Eagles.
So in other words, you proclaimed with guarantees in your voice all over your tenor and beyond, Claudia, that the Jacksonville Jaguars would be playing in the Super Bowl, and now you're calling up to give me an excuse as to why those facts were actually incorrect.
No, they were all correct. I told you Miles Jack was the one to watch.
Yeah, but did the Jaguars win? Are the Jaguars playing in Super Bowl 52?
No, I know.
Did you not guarantee?
They didn't win, but the Eagles are gonna win the Super Bowl.
Claudia, you don't get to say that right now. You can say that next week, but you don't get to call up here and make guarantees after your latest guarantee was wrong. You have to eat a little crow. Hold on, Claudia.
Steven,
Claudia. You have to spend a day eating a little crow. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be back tomorrow. But you have to eat a little crow today. You can't do that. You can't do that. I mean, listen. I was raised by 5 women. Okay. I'm all for equal distribution of praise, equal distribution of criticism. Okay. I would have to eat crow. Everybody else would have to eat crow, Claudia. Why do you get away with it?
I know. I'm eating crow, but my Eagles are still going to win the Super Bowl, no matter if Tom's there or.
There are buts, Claudia. There are buts, Claudia, in your language. Let's focus on the fact that you were wrong about your Jaguars. Don't call up here making excuses about Miles Jack.
I'm not making excuses. He got hurt. It is what it is. Even Carlson said that before when you took his call first. Right?
No. Because Carlton was talking about what he wants, and Carlton is a known Bill Belichick hater, so he never hesitates to highlight how Bill Belichick gets away with so much. That's entirely different than Claudia proclaiming with defiance that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. Since I've given you numerous opportunities to eat crow and you have passed, I'm going to make you do that. You can call back another day, Claudia, when you're able to eat a little crow, and then you could give me your Super Bowl prediction. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Sam in Texas. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Sam. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Stephen? I appreciate you taking my call.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I understand you talk about the NFL, but I was curious to know, what your sources are telling you about the whole Kawhi, San Antonio, Buford situation.
There's no source. Go to ESPN.com, and you'll see that Adrian Wojnarowski wrote an article in regards to Kawhi Leonard being at odds with the Spurs organization over his rehab situation. What doctors and medical experts have referred him to, and what he's feeling about the level of treatment that he's getting in terms of how good it is or how bad it is or whatever. Read the article yourself. I'm not speculating about anything. Wojnarowski, in concert with somebody else, is writing about this. They've even quoted R.C. Buford of the San Antonio Spurs categorically denying what they reported. So you need to go there and read that.
Oh, I did. I just wanted to know what your take was on it. That's all.
No, I mean, I don't have a take on it, to be honest with you, because Kawhi Leonard is a upstanding guy and what have you, but we're talking about a first-class organization in the San Antonio Spurs, who you don't hear too many people complaining about as an organization. It's very, very difficult to find a coach who's more protective of his players than Greg Popovich, in terms of the rest that they received, how their minutes are monitored, etc. He's incredibly protective of them. So with Kawhi having a problem, this is a story we all need to keep our eyes on. But what we don't need to do is be irresponsible by taking one side against the other, because Kawhi comes across as an incredibly decent and humble individual, and Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs organization are first class historically and have been known to take care of their players. It's incredibly difficult to take sides on this particular issue. The only thing you can do is raise your eyebrows and look in the direction of Kawhi Leonard to say, okay, what exactly is it that you and your camp are trying to say about the San Antonio Spurs organization? It does warrant further intrigue. It does warrant a bit more probing. We don't need to close our eyes and turn our backs and just assume that it's a non-story. But to cast aspersions on either side would be irresponsible. And I'm not going to do that.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking my call. Have a blessed day, Stephen A.
Take it easy. Kentrell in the ATL, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
How's it going, Stephen A? Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Go ahead, buddy.
I want to get a couple thoughts out, if you don't mind. First
Hurry up.
I'm a big Patriots fan, and all I've heard all week is how this Jaguars defense is this and that. And at the end of the day, 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. No defense, top 3, top 1. I've been hearing how they're the best defense no matter what. No defense is going to blow a 10-point lead that good. Without Gronk, in the fourth quarter with 9 minutes left. Everyone knows what Tom Brady does, and everyone knows what they're going to be looking for, the inside seam routes and all that stuff, and they still repeat.
So in other words, what are you saying? So what are you saying? Are you saying that it's about the greatness of Tom Brady, or are you saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is not as good as we all thought they were?
No, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, like I thought, buckled up when it came down to it. When Brady got that drive going and got that 3rd and 18, they started to buckle. You can see it. Every single thing just started going against them, and they allowed it to happen. It's not like they did something or made a completion for a first down to stop the momentum. They allowed it to keep going and keep going and keep going. So I don't want to hear about a flag in a first quarter when you're still up by 2 possessions with 9 minutes left.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you there. I mean, listen, Carlton and them could bring up all they want about the first half, but at the end of the day, I feel whether they were up 20-10 or 27-10, Brady gave you every impression he'd find a way when it counted most to get it done. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, to me, what it comes down to is you being up 20-10 in the fourth quarter and folding. That's what it comes down to me.
Definitely agree with that. And my second point was, so I've been watching I saw the Houston Rockets beat the Warriors, and I've seen the Thunder, and they're coming together. Both teams at their peak, Thunder and the Rockets. Who do you give a better chance against the Warriors come playoff time? If both teams are gotten together.
I heard you. Here's my honest to God answer. It would be OKC if I could just rely on their starting 5. The fact that a bench has something to do with this, I roll with Houston having a better chance at this particular moment in time. CP3 and James Harden look sensational together. CP3 is special, man. He's just special. And what he's brought to the Houston Rockets is incredibly formidable. And Clint Capella, let me tell you something about this guy, Clint Capella. He's a significant upgrade from Dwight Howard because that system is tailored for him. He runs the floor better than Dwight Howard did at this stage and point in his career. And as a result, that makes him more of a formidable weapon for the opposition to deal with. You combine that with the fact that a James Harden, a Chris Paul, a Trevor Ariza, a Ryan Anderson, and Eric Gordon, all of them can shoot. Okay? That makes it even that much more interesting. That's what I'm looking at. Houston's better because with OKC, guess what? You got to stop the Warriors. With Houston, you could actually get in a shootout and still have a shot to win because of how prolific Houston's offense can be when they're really, really clicking. And I got to applaud D'Antoni as well when he was on the bench during a timeout telling his players, this ain't the time to get tired. You can be tired tomorrow in practice. You ain't going to be tired tonight. We got to finish the job. That's what he was telling them. And it was absolutely profound advice for him to give them. It really, really was.
Thank you for taking my call. I think Harden will get his MVP this year. He
might. He's right now, James Harden and KD, Kevin Durant are battling for league MVP honors with LeBron James, as far as I'm concerned. Right now. And I take LeBron James out of the equation just like I take Kyrie Irving out of the equation because both of them are struggling. Both of their teams are struggling at this particular juncture. So even though they're MVP candidates and there's still a ways to go, I think they faded. And I think right now the league MVP honors is a 2-horse race between James Harden and Kevin Durant. Right now. And oh, by the way, as crazy as it might sound for y'all, I'd put CP3 in that conversation because I'd make an argument that CP3 is just as responsible for James Harden for what we're seeing from the Houston Rockets right now. In case y'all haven't noticed, CP3, yes, MVP candidate. 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. That's the number to call up on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Hour number 2 up next, Ryan Clark. Plus, I'll get into LeBron and Golden State. More to Stephen A. Smith Show. Hour number 2 up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.